Hello everyone, it is Friday, so happy Friday everyone. I am tired, but it's been a week, it's been a week with the whole work being its thing and then school being its thing where I am finishing up the business plan. I'm also working on actually helping my mom kind of in like the smallest way possible, but so as it turns out, because I got curious, and the curious where it's, well, not curious, so it starts off with a general conversation, right? It starts off with the whole like, hey mom, how you doing, all that general speak talk where it's like, oh, I'm doing great, your sister went on a trip, blah blah blah, cool beans. And then so I'm graduating soon, and as you would also feel or share the experience, but my mom's really proud of that, and she's really looking forward to that entire, the graduation, cap, the gown, the I don't know graduation. I've only been to one in my life, well, outside of high school, but the point is that she's really proud, she's really excited, and then she asked like, oh, what are you doing? And then I'm like, well, I'm packing up some stuff, pretty much, like the Pokemon stuff, orders that I've been getting. And lately those orders have been, more frequent. And so it's something that you guys have probably caught me doing, especially during my packing day videos, is I write non-machinable on the envelopes, and so I actually ended up doing it to each one of the envelopes I have available right here, or at least right in front of me, which there's at least like 30 of them, so at least for the next 30 orders I won't be non-machinable on both sides, so it's saving some time there. And my mom's been like my greatest supporter when it comes to that, especially, well, over the years, I guess, because at first, like any kid who gets into, band or choir or anything, I don't know, but I feel like there was this general assumption that, oh, it's just gonna be for like a little bit, it's just testing the waters and then gonna get back out of it, because that's that is technically how I've done things with other areas of my life. Like, I did Lego robotics for a couple seasons and then I was out. I did choir for a few years, actually that was pretty solid, and then I got out. I did speech and debate for the 1 year and I got out. So I mean, I do finish the commitments, it's just that usually it would have been like, oh, this is very temporary, it's for this one season, it's for the quarter, it's for the blah, and then I'm out. Well, so I guess this is gonna be story time, right? I'll put that in the title, story time. So if you're not interested in a story, then you don't need to stick around, but it is a story time, and so if you're here for that, then ka-chow. So originally this all started in high school, kind of, where I was a part of like this website called Listia, and Listia used to do credits and stuff like that, so you'd like sell your cards for credits, so not actual money, but then you'd use those credits to bid on other stuff, which in like my case, I would get other Pokemon cards. And so back in the back when, and I'm here like, oh yeah, like, I don't know if you knew, but I'd go to the post office and then I'd do my shipping. And back then, still learning the ropes on things. Like, now when I do shipping, it's like a fresh sleeve. It's like, these are from the Charizard things. I have penny sleeves, I have my top loaders, I have my little baggies, I have basically everything I need now, because I know exactly how I need to ship things after years of experience, weirdly enough, because it shouldn't have taken that long to realize that, hey, yeah, if you just send in a sleeve, the card's most likely gonna arrive damaged, and then you're liable because you didn't provide the best service you could. So, but I dealt with that, and I dealt with, those early on, like, little bits of conflict that I had to resolve, but that I wasn't so great at, because I was dealing with things as a person who just honestly did not know how to do business properly. And so, now when you encounter an issue where it's like, say, a customer is all like, hey, I haven't gotten my order, it's been like 2 weeks, it's been, or however long, let's say it was like a regular order and it was your job to get it out there, but maybe I was you know, not able to ship it. And so back then it would be like, oh, maybe I didn't communicate, or maybe then I'd be like, oh, well, why don't you give it this long, and then, you know, we'll see about it then. And then, you know, I don't know, as a kid, I guess I was a little more temperamental about what happened, and it was like, you know, like, well, it wasn't my fault that it got lost. And it's like, it's not about it being anyone's fault, really, especially when you're running a business or when you're even communicating with a customer. It's not that it's your fault, it's not that it's their fault, it's just the fact that these things happen, and sometimes you just have to take the loss and move on, because if you're stuck on every single order that possibly goes missing, then at some point you're just losing your time, and you're creating a poor relationship with like this customer, which then reflects poorly on your business or whatever you're trying to do. So the point is that my mom's here, like, she's like, oh, I'm so proud of you, like, all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, like, these last couple days I've had like 20 orders every like 3-4 days, and so I've had lots of orders, and so I'm trying to prep for this. And she's like, I'm so proud of you, you know, you're so smart. And I'm here like, you do realize this is because of you, because when I was growing up, my mom, you know, she worked at a factory for like pretty much all of until I was 8. And then she was undocumented at the time, and so then she started like a business with what she was able to save from working at the factory, because she was working for like a major corporation, like in like assembly basically. So she got paid really well, and so she was able to save a lot of money. And so she started a business at some point, and back then it was actually a clothes business, and it wasn't her thing like at all, but she was selling clothes, and then she was selling blankets. Like, she would diversify. And so all I really knew is like, if she started with just girls clothing, it didn't stop there. It was like, okay, now I'm gonna sell boys clothing, I'm gonna get blankets, and I'm gonna get, you know, socks and accessories and a whole bunch of other things. And so she'd have this like big booth, or at least in my mind big booth, because, you know, I was a child. I was like, I don't know, again, like 8, 9, 10, and I'm like 5'2", so when I say littler, I was pretty short, like really short, like always in the front of the picture, you know, where they put the shortest kids. Anyway, but the point is that I started learning business from her, and then after she did that, you know, she realized this isn't for me, so she gets into her car stereo systems, which like she took by storm. And granted, like I don't know, like, riddle me this, she's a woman who has barely gone to half a year of kindergarten in Mexico, comes here and, you know, works in a factory. Before that, she works odd jobs. You know, she learns English randomly from Blue's Clues, because I was watching Blue's Clues. So in every way, she's the embodiment of the American dream, as far as what I've been able to perceive from her growing up, you know. And then she tells me, like, she cuts me off mid thing. I was like, you know, it's because of you. And she's like, well, I only learned it because of your grandpa. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, yeah, didn't I ever tell you? Apparently my grandpa owns a little store, basically like a mini market in Mexico. And he also owns his own, wherever they grind the corn to make tortillas, and also an announcement booth. Like, he owns a variety of businesses in Mexico, where my mom basically learned how to survive through that. And, you know, so it's like, somehow with her coming here at 15 years old, barely in education, but, you know, enough time to observe my grandfather and learn whatever she could learn from him, and maintains a profitable starting business and all that, it's just shocking. And so I'm here like, well, I learned this from you, or at least part of it, because all I did was switch it up to Pokemon, because that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I love to do. I love to come into my Pokemon room and, you know, do work here. I literally have meetings, and it's like, blah blah blah, business, accounting. It's like, oh yes, look, wonderful. And, you know, the Pikachu's in the background, and this or that in the background, and, you know, it's fun, and I love it. And it makes me happy that every time I get to come in here, I get to enjoy the things that I guess I didn't really get to enjoy as a kid, because with my mom, you know, not having an education became really important for you know, us to learn, myself, my sister, and so it was really important, you know, you get those good grades, you do all the things, you join all the clubs and blah blah blah, you learn education, and I did all that, and that was fun. But now I get to tell her this, and it was pretty fun that I got to go off and it'd be like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. And as it turns out, like, I'm here like, oh, by the way, I saw your TikTok, because apparently she started one as a, like a, for her business, which is fun, because technically, yes, that is a great way of making sure that your business is out there. It's, after all, like, free advertising, plus also it's entertaining, and she's a tiny Mexican first generation small business owner, so it's kind of catnip, basically. But so the point is, I don't really know the point other than I got to talk to my mom. She got to be pretty excited for me and what I'm doing, and she doesn't actually know about this YouTube channel because I'm also a nervous Nelly, so I don't tell many people. I just do this, and then I get to share the stuff I do know about Pokemon, the stuff I've learned through trial and error, year by year, you know, because again, it started in high school as this random just hobby to trade for other cards, because I wanted more cards for my personal collection. And eventually that evolved into, okay, now I'm doing eBay because I want to be able to sell my individual cards to try and buy other cards as well, but this time with money, not just credits, but with money. And so I did the whole eBay thing, and that was fun. The only issue that I found was that technically, I guess, there wasn't a way to build my business on eBay that I could really feel like it was focused, you know, because eBay is such a huge e-commerce platform, and granted, now TCG Player is owned by eBay, but that's like besides the fact at this point. And then so at some point I did step away from eBay just because I feel like they aren't able to protect the sellers and buyers equally. And so to that regard, I completely trust TCG Player, and obviously you guys choose whatever venue of selling works for you, because after all, that's like the main important thing that you should be doing. But yeah, and so now I'm selling on TCG Player, and I told her like, oh yeah, like, you know, I've made these sales. And then she's all like, oh, that's really good. And I'm like, yeah, like, in a matter of today, and granted, like, these aren't huge numbers, but in a matter of today, I made like a gross amount of, what is that, 12, 24, 26 and change. 26 and change, net out to be like maybe $18, I think, maybe less, maybe 15, maybe 14 after fees. But the point is, you know, $14 that I otherwise wouldn't have, and I just get to, you know, take that profit and then put it back into Pokemon, like I just did with the, I bought 2 cases of Scarlet and Violet of booster boxes, and I bought 2 cases of Elite Trainer boxes for Scarlet and Violet as well, and I'll be looking forward to getting those sometime end of March, hopefully. But you know, without this portion of things, without whatever drive that my mom was able to instill in me to be like, yeah, you know what, I want to pursue my passion, I want to do the things that make me happy, like, I get to do this because of her. I get to do this because of the influences in my life that I did get, because, you know, outside of her being, you know, this major role model as far as business goes, like, she was able to do it without an education. I even asked her questions like, oh, well, how do you know your probable return, you know, your accrued bad expense, basically, account, like, quote unquote, that you need to think of, like, potential returns where people are like, oh, this is defective, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, well, you know, I estimate that it's gonna be this often and for this amount. And then I'm like, yeah, but how do you know? And she's like, well, I've been doing this for a while, and this is what usually happens. And then I'm like, okay, well, what about your mileage? Like, how much are you spending on gas that you're not, you know, taking into account? And she's like, oh, well, I guess my trips, they come out of the money that I make in the business and blah, blah. And I was like, how do you know you're making money, though, if you're not keeping track of it? She's like, because I put in some numbers in my little notebook, and then I make sense of them. And I'm like, you're running a business out of a notebook, my golly gee. She is an amazing woman, and I don't know, I get to tell you guys this because it is a portion of what makes I guess Southern Oregon Card Emporium what it is, because I find a lot of people to be very amazing, and everyone is born with like this specific set of skills that, you know, without that support, without that want to believe, it just doesn't grow. And, you know, as rough as I had it here and there, I always knew that I guess my mom believed in me, and that she believed in this even when it was just random Pokemon cards that I got in the mail, and even when I don't think I was making any money, like, at all. Like, sometimes I did this to no one's benefit, because the cards I would get were sometimes even worse than the cards that I started with. And sometimes she'd give me like $5 to cover shipping, and so I could go to the store with my sister and buy a bag of chips after. So, I don't know. That's my story. At least that's the beginning of Southern Oregon Card Emporium since I was a kid to now. But at least now I get to graduate with a degree in accounting and, well, business administration, concentration in public accounting with a certificate in accounting information systems, which pretty exciting. And I get to do that, and I get to share this moment with you guys, because, you know, if it weren't for that business strategy class, I wouldn't even have started this. And this was just a random thought. It was like, ooh, let's do this. Let's just find out the amount of people that watch this stuff. And then it's like, blah, blah, blah. Is it male or female? I don't know. Data analytics and things that I can apply into something realistic, because that is exactly how business is done. So, I hope you guys have a good night. I just wanted to wrap that up, give a quick story time, and then I'll catch you guys next week. I think I'll be turning in my paper, right? So I'll hopefully have like a general pre-presentation of my business plan, but not complete business plan. It's mainly practice, because at the very end of the following week, I think, it's gonna be finals week, and at that point I do have to make my real presentation. Not my real super business plan presentation, but real pre-presentation where I get to present on the target analysis, my market segment, my competitive strength analysis, and my SWOT, which is like the strength, weakness, opportunity, threats, and strategic plan. Lots and lots of business words. But I get to share all that with you guys, and I get to have another awesome possum day with school and to enjoy this. So subscribe if you haven't done so already. Well, if you want to or not, that's totally fine either way. But have a beautiful day, take care, and I'll see you guys next time, okay? Bye guys.